Hanging in there.
I just hit the record button. So does anybody have anything, good shares for the weeks? Any wins?
I've I've been able to get through a week of a terrible upper respiratory virus without taking any medications.
Oh, wow. Wow. Something must be going around. I have a little bit of a head cold myself, although I just took something because I can't really breathe through my nose and I have to talk. So I figured I better take something. But anyway, but that's good that you're starting to feel like your body is responding a little bit better. I love that. Not that you're sick, but that you're handling it okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, I guess I can go ahead and get started. It's 12:01 now, so let me share my screen. All right, so welcome, happy Wednesday. I like to call this one Lunch and Learn because, as you know, the Wednesday one goes a little bit longer, and I have a full PowerPoint for you today, as I usually do. I'm doing a three-part series on fitness in these next 3 weeks. So, oops, look at that. I did this back in June. So today it's not June, it's definitely November. But anyway, the three-part series. So this week we're talking about physical fitness. We're going to go over all the components of that. But primarily I hadn't done exercise for a while. And it's such an important piece of the pie and such an important piece of the puzzle. And I want you guys to understand why you're doing what you're doing. You know, I get your weekly check-in sheets, hopefully every week. And there's a question about asking you about your activity. And I just really want to dig into teaching you why you're doing what you're doing and what to aim for and what to go for and what's doing what for your body. So I wanted you to be crystal clear about that by the end of today's talk. That's my intention for you today. But this next couple of weeks, fitness part one is the physical fitness. Next week will be the mental fitness, which is basically the mindset. It takes a certain mindset to be physically fit and fitness in general, all of our fitness pieces. And then finally, there's going to be part three, which is spiritual fitness. And that one, it may not make sense now, but I will bring it all together. I will connect all the dots for you. And it's not going to be what you think on the spiritual fitness. I definitely want you to show up for that because it has everything to do with your actual physical body. So anyway, just hear me now, believe me later, trust in this process. And I hope to see you all for sure in these next few weeks. All right, so today's agenda, we got some welcomes, shout outs, and funnies. We'll talk about what fitness is, the different components of fitness. I'm going to go into the types of exercise and get a real dig in on that. So we'll be clear on that. We'll touch a little bit on nutrition and, you know, really why is this all important, kind of bringing it all together. And as usual, we will have Q&A. So, but you guys, if you want to unmute and ask a question in the middle of my talk here, by all means do so, or jot it down and save it for the end. As you guys know, I love questions. That helps me help you gear where this conversation goes. So here's a couple of funnies for you in relation to exercise. I don't always go to the gym, but when I do, I let the internet know. I tell my social media. Exercise? I thought you said extra fries. So, all right, so let's where did my shout outs go? Here we go. All right, so Susan, she just finished up the program and she's thrilled with this program. She said her skin is so much better. She said people are noticing that she's looking younger and that her skin is better. When other people know, you know it's working, and that's nothing feels better than that. She says her energy is Her energy's back. She goes, and that is priceless. Her energy was extremely low when she started this program. So she's thrilled with that. Now she leaned in, she went for it, she embraced it. She traveled a lot during her program, and she still managed to do very, very well. She's now reading labels, and she said she feels absolutely amazing. So I'm super, super, super excited for Susan. Kristen pulled out her winter clothes, and surprisingly, everything was fitting, stuff that didn't fit before. They're fitting now, and some of them are loose. Some of them need belts, is what she told me. But she's fitting into stuff she hasn't fit into years. But I guess she lives in a cold climate, so you literally have to pull out your winter clothes. And she pulled them out, and she's fitting into stuff she hasn't fit into for a while. So good for her. And then Teresa, spoke to her this morning. She's down 8 pounds, and she just got started. So keep going, Teresa. Hang in there, girl. All right, so we've got some welcomes to welcome Denise, Megan, Karen, Esther, Melissa, 2 Melissas, Miriam, Nicole, Barbara, Pam, Elisa, Marie, Kathleen, Deborah, Echo, Holly, and Judy. And anybody else whose name I forgot. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so how fit are you? What is fitness? So like I said, we're going to be talking about physical fitness today, this week. Next week will be mental fitness, and more so the mindset. And it's a really key factor is getting in the right mindset to prepare yourself, because you got to make some changes. And our old mindset doesn't want to make changes. The subconscious mind wants to go back to the easy peasy. It wants to go back to the routines. It wants to go back to pizza on Friday nights. It wants to go back to what we used to do because that's comfortable. It's called the comfort zone. So when we get a different perspective and a different mindset, and we at a different kind of an acceptance that we do have to make some changes, this is where you're going to have your success. Because if we don't change the way you think and feel about food and exercise, you're doing the things for a little while, but your subconscious mind will pull you right back to the old ways if we don't shift our thinking. So that one is a really key, important piece of the puzzle. The spiritual fitness and how that affects the body, I will definitely make that make sense for you in a couple of weeks. And then financial fitness. And guess what? I will not be talking to you guys about financial fitness. Because that's an area I need to learn as well. So, but that's an important piece. You know, with financial fitness, we can do a lot of the things that help us become physically fit and spiritually fit and mentally fit. We can take the classes, we can join the programs, we can take the courses, to do the workshops, take the seminars, do all the things if we have some financial fitness. So if you don't have the financial fitness, take that course too and get yourself on that wave. All right, so hold on a second. All right, so the definition of physical fitness is a state of health and well-being, and more specifically, the ability to perform aspects of sports, occupations, and daily activities. Physical fitness is generally achieved through proper nutrition, moderate to vigorous exercise, with sufficient rest and recovery. So this is just really important for quality of life. That's what we're aiming for. That's, I'm sure, the reason every one of you is here. When we become physically fit, we are going to have a better quality of life. All right, so let's go over some of the components. There's cardiovascular endurance, and that is just basically how long can you do the thing where you're working at a higher heart rate. How long can you handle it before you have to take a rest? The longer you can stay doing that sport, like these guys in the corner playing soccer. You know, I used to play on I'm short too, by the way. I'm not quite 5'3", but I did play on a women's basketball team. And it was for moms age 35 and up. And when I first started to play, I couldn't play a whole game. I needed to rest. And after doing that for a couple of years, I was able to play. At one point, I played 2 games back to back. with, I don't think much, if any, rest at all. And it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to watch my own self beat my own little records. So when you're going on your walks or your runs or your hikes, challenge yourself and see if you can't go a little bit longer and push it, go 29 minutes and then 30 minutes and then 35 minutes, pushing yourself to go a little bit longer so you can handle it. So that when you're in the airport and they tell you that the terminal has been changed and you have to run across the airport, the entire airport, which could be a mile, you're going to be able to get to the other side to catch your plane. Body composition. Now that is, I'm going to move this thing here. That's why I put the body fat standards over here in the corner. So if you want to look for your age in this row here, you can see where your body fat standards lie. And hopefully you guys all have a scale that measures your body fat. The more you can't manage anything you're not tracking. So if you're not tracking your weight, you're not tracking your body fat, and you're not, tracking your measurements, it's hard to manage to see if what you're doing is working. So I do encourage you guys to measure yourself, to weigh yourself, and to check your body fat. If you can get a scale that does the body fat, I definitely do encourage it. But if you want to take a screenshot of where your number should be, that is what that's there for, that little blue box there. Flexibility is also really important. If we go to do something really fast and your body wasn't ready for it, that's how we pull things. That's how we snap things. That's how we tear things or break things. So flexibility is definitely really, really important. If your muscles are really, really tight, it can cause things like low back pain. I know for me, when I started doing a lot of yoga, and certain poses of theirs are definitely stretching the low back and the hamstrings. But tight hamstrings can lead to low back problems. And there's piriformis, there's the hip flexors, there's all kinds of different muscles, especially in the hip area, that can lead to low back pain if we're not managing our flexibility. So stretching is underrated, and I'll talk a little bit more about flexibility today as well. Muscle strength. How much can you lift up? Okay, I can lift a 10-pound box. I can lift a 20-pound box. I can struggle with a 40-pound box. Can I pick up the 60-pound box? What am I able to lift at once? The more I'm able to lift, of course, the more things I'm able to do, that's just a component, but then there's also muscle endurance. So say I'm doing something, and I have a couple clients that have physical jobs where they're picking up boxes and moving things and climbing ladders and are doing all these things. But if that's their job and they do that 6-8 hours a day, their muscle endurance is probably going to be pretty strong because that's something that they normally do. And they do it all day. But it's important to do, like when we talk about different exercises, lots of higher repetitions with lower weights will build muscle endurance, where higher weights will build muscle strength. So there's different modalities of strength training as well. And then lastly, and this is really, really, really important for everything, because as we age, if we don't use it, we lose it. But you definitely want to have speed. If you're crossing the street and you look up and there's a bus, you need to get the heck out of that street. You need to go pretty quick. And you need agility. So if you're walking around not paying attention, you're on your phone and you look up and there's a pole, you need to duck out of the way, or you need to move out of the way, or something's coming at you. And if you go sideways or this way, if you don't have any kind of agility, you might fall down or you might hurt yourself. So we definitely want to be agile. Balance.
Tammy,
Yes.
would you be able to repeat what you said about reps build one thing and more weight builds another?
So the muscle strength, if you want to build strength, you're going to lift heavier weights. If you want to build muscle endurance, you're going to go with a lighter weight. You're going to go with a lighter weight, but higher repetitions. So like in module 5, I suggest 12 to 15 reps per set of whatever you're doing, for example. But if I want to build muscle endurance, I might do 18 repetitions or 20 repetitions with a lower weight. If I'm trying to build strength, I'm going to put a higher weight, maybe do 6 repetitions or 8 repetitions. It'll be a lower
Thank
group repetitions. I'm going to talk about strength training specifically in just a minute, but great question. Great. I love the questions, guys. Thank you. So where else? Balance. You know, they say as we age, we lose our balance. What we're losing as we age is muscle if we don't use our muscles. Guess what? Your balance muscles are between your knees and your ribs. So basically your thighs and your core. So when you strengthen your thighs and you strengthen your core and you go off balance, so say if you're on a boat or what do you call it? A people mover, like in the airport where the floor moves, or an escalator, or something, or hiking where the rocks are kind of not stable. If we don't have good muscle tone in the core and in the thighs, and we lose our balance, there's likelihood that we will fall. And obviously that's not going to end well for any of us. So you want to maintain good balance. Sometimes you have to lift up a foot for some reason. You want to make sure you have good balance. Coordination, reaction time, we need all those things for driving, for regular day-to-day tasks. So definitely doing things that help build all of these things or correct the body composition, but cardiovascular endurance, you want to be able to sustain movement for a while. You want to be flexible, you want to have some strength, you want to have some endurance, speed, agility, balance, coordination, and reaction time. All things, all components really, really important for your physical fitness. All right. So today we will be talking about cardiovascular exercise, strength training, high intensity interval training, and flexibility. And then we'll decide which one is best for you. And those of you who are here live, I'm so happy for you because I've been a personal trainer for about 25 years, 24 years actually. 2001, I got my first certification. So yeah, 24 years. So I've been doing this for a long time, and each one of these things brings something different to the table. So I'm going to go over all of that right about now. All right, so what is cardiovascular exercise? Well, it's basically anything that gets your heart rate up. Could be like biking, cycling, swimming, hiking, dancing, jump roping, jumping, just different, where your plyometrics, where you're up and down, anything that gets your heart rate up to a certain number. There's some math that you can do specifically for your current condition, your cardiovascular condition, but the simple, easy math is 180 minus your age. And this is a real important one because a lot of my clients, when they turn their weekly check-in sheet in, and that's what you should all be doing if you're, doing this 12-week program, you should be turning those into me. But a lot of times I see walking, and they'll check the box, walking with purpose. But what is the purpose? Like, what does that even mean? Because when I talk to you guys individually, I find out, oh, well, I'm walking my little dog with 2-inch legs who stops to pee on every bush, So what is that really doing for your heart rate? You are bonding with your dog, and I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I think that's wonderful. You're getting fresh air, you're outside. I think that's wonderful. But is it getting your heart rate up? So when you say walking with purpose, or you check that box, it will be helpful to me if you say, hey, I got my heart rate up to 120 and I'm 60 years old. So I did have kind of that target heart rate. And I kept it up there for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 2 minutes or an hour, wherever you are. And you're just going to work up. Don't expect yourself to do an hour at 180 minus your age. Don't think you're going to be able to do that if you've never been tracking that before. None of these people that joined the Olympics started in the Olympics, right? We didn't start running, we started crawling, and then we learned to be a toddler, and then we learned to be a runner. So don't expect yourself to be doing an hour at 180 minus your age. But With that said, track your heart rate. See where you're at. See what you can do in 10 minutes where your heart rate is. And then if you do that same 10-minute walk, same 10-minute walk, same 10-minute walk, the heart rate should be coming down, which will tell you, or it will tell me, it will tell us that your heart is getting healthier. Because if the heart rate, if you're doing the exact same block for exact same 10 minutes, so you're going at the same intensity, but your heart doesn't have to beat as hard. So if you had 120 beats for that minute, for that per minute, 120 beats per minute for that 10-minute walk, and then now you're at 118 or 115, and then it goes to 110, that means your heart is getting healthier. Because with every heartbeat, that means your heart is more efficient. It doesn't have to pump a bunch of times. It has to pump fewer times, but it's pumping the same amount of needed required blood. It's called stroke volume. So that's why it's important to track your heart rate. Because if you're walking the short little dog who stops at every bush, you're probably, it's again, getting fresh air and you're getting your vitamin D, but it's probably not doing a whole lot for you. All right, so let's talk about the benefits. So the benefits of cardiovascular exercise is, it's great. It burns calories right here and right now. There's also something called afterburn. So if you're doing a pretty good intense cardiovascular workout, once you stop, you're going to be burning more calories than you normally would for maybe 30, depending on how hard you worked, 30 to 45 minutes. And then eventually, after about an hour-ish, your body goes back to its old, slow, metabolic state, the same old metabolism that you had yesterday or whatever the case may be. So it's great. It brings up that metabolism for that time that you're exercising and then the afterburn, but then your metabolism does go back to its old normal. It's really, 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 really important for your heart and your lungs. And when we think about, as I was growing up, it was just fewer calories, eat less, move more, eat less, move more. But it's really also about exercising your lungs, exercising your heart, and exercising the cardiovascular system, including the arteries and veins. Because when we go for a fast bike ride or a good swim or a good hike or a good dancing session or whatever cardio you're doing, your veins and arteries have to stretch so more blood can get through. Otherwise, if they can't stretch and they're hard, then that's what causes high blood pressure, because your heart's pumping so hard to try to get all that blood through that tiny little straw. If they're elastic and they stretch, now more blood can get through and your heart doesn't have to work so hard. So it is extremely important. You've heard of atherosclerosis. I can never say that word, but that's hardening of the arteries, and that's exactly what that is. So by exercising, getting your heart rate up, you're keeping those veins and arteries elastic so they can stretch when your body needs it, extra blood to come through. It's very detoxifying when you're, swimming and biking and jumping and running and hiking and dancing and all the fun things. You're going to, obviously you're going to be sweating, which is a wonderful form of detoxification. You're releasing the toxins from your body. And by the way, it's important to wipe off or shower off sooner than later, because your skin will reabsorb some of those toxins. So keep a rag, keep a towel to, wipe your body down if you can't get to the shower right away. But if you're at the gym and you're sweating, wipe it off, because again, it's toxins. But the other thing that nobody talks about, or not commonly, is you're breathing heavier, right? Mm-hmm. Every time you exhale, those are toxins coming from your lungs. That's the carbon dioxide that's coming from your lungs. So you're releasing more toxins. If you, on a mirror, you see that fog, all that stuff is that junk coming out from your lungs. So by breathing extra and exhaling extra, you're detoxifying your body. So between sweating and breathing, you're detoxifying. So obviously that's going to be a good thing. Also, your heart rate comes up. That means more blood is coming through to all of the cells in the body, your brain, your vital organs, every little cell you have from your fingers to your toes. Healing comes from your blood. Your blood is where all the nourishment is. Your blood is where the oxygen is. And when we bring nourishment and oxygen to all the body parts, if there is something injured or torn or broken, that's where the healing comes from. So it can help with healing as well. Also, getting better sleep. A lot of my clients are having issues. Seems like sleep is the thing this week, the theme of the week. It's so weird when I read your guys' journals. It's weird, like everybody's having the same issue. I don't know. But this week was a lot of sleep issues. I don't know why. But notice that if you go to Zumba class, or you ride your bike, or you do something to get your heart rate up enough to challenge you, whatever that looks like for you, even if challenging for you is 5 minutes, or challenging for you is 20 minutes or 40 minutes, notice how you sleep better that night. So just pay attention to that, because it can really help with better sleep. All right, so that's the strength, the cardiovascular training, what that brings to the table. Now we've got strength training, and what that brings to the table. So number one, obviously, it's going to build lean body mass and build lean muscle. Obviously, if we're able to do things, if we're able to pick things up like grandchildren or children, how cool is that if we're not struggling through all of that? So you definitely want to maintain your lean body mass for that reason alone. That's just called quality of life. The other bonus is, guess what? It speeds up your metabolism. So the cardiovascular burns calories right then and right there. And then there's that afterburn I talked about. And then your body goes back to its old self. When you build lean muscle, you literally turn the dial up on your metabolism 24 hours a day. So even while you're reading a book or sitting here watching this presentation or watching TV or writing a letter or whatever you're doing that's not necessarily movement, you're burning more calories while you sleep, while you sit, while you do pretty much nothing. So that's a really important piece of that puzzle. This is why I recommend strength training first. That's why in module 5 in the program, in the course, it starts you with a super basic, simple, beginner-friendly strength training program. And then you can add some cardio stuff in later. The other benefit of building lean body mass and building muscle is it changes your body composition, and it specifically can help reduce belly fat. So your body composition, I showed you the body fat standards a couple of slides ago. So hopefully you kind of took a screenshot of it and saw what your numbers are. And of course, if you have the scale that measures it, you can track that. But as we build lean muscle, it speeds up the metabolism, but now the body's going to go after the fat as a source for energy. You gain strength. So this is, we were talking about this a little earlier. We had muscle strength and muscle endurance. So as you lift heavier weights, you're going to gain strength. And as you do higher repetitions with something not quite as heavy, you want to be challenged. So if you do 20, like say bicep curls, and you feel like you could do 100 more, the weight is too light. Even though I said lighter weights, higher reps. But if you feel like you could do 100, pick up a higher weight, or the resist. If you're using the resistance bands, go to a stronger color or a more challenging color, or add an extra band to it. So to gain the strength, you're going to lift heavier weights. To gain the endurance, you're going to do higher repetitions. And they're both important. We want to be able to do the thing. So if we're playing pickleball, for example, which, you want to be able to have that endurance to play for an hour or at least half an hour or whatever period of time. But when the grandkids and they get heavy, we want to have the strength too. So muscle endurance and muscle strength are both equally important. So do both. And then, of course, as we age, we start to lose muscle, and then we start to lose bone density. I think it probably goes in that order too. The more lean muscle you have, the more you're going to maintain the bone density. It's easier to maintain the bone density than try to put it back in if you've lost some. So doing strength training start as early in life as possible. I think the average age in our group is probably 57 to 65, but I've got some people younger and some people older, which is perfectly fine. My first job in fitness was at the senior center, and there was some people in there that could outperform some 40-year-olds. So it's never too late. It's never, ever too late to start. But if you are younger, start now, because it's like a savings account. When we're eating healthy foods that have a lot of good minerals and we're saving those up in our bones, eventually the body is going to start tapping into that savings account or that retirement account, which is why bone density goes as we age. We want to have a good savings account within those bones. So start today. Start ASAP. And then here's the thing, as I mentioned, the more lean body mass you have, you're burning calories 24/7. So if you're only doing cardio and you're doing 15 minutes on a treadmill or around the block or hiking or whatever you're doing, your body's going to be dependent on burning those extra 200 calories or whatever it is. But if you don't get to that hike or that workout that day, maybe you feel sick, or maybe you got company, or maybe you had to travel that day, you didn't get to burn that extra 250 calories or whatever the case may be. So then what? You're going to have to eat less or start putting weight on. The cool thing with the strength training is you build the lean muscle. And if I missed my workout today, I still have the lean muscle. I don't want to stop so I don't lose the muscle. But tomorrow I'm going to have all that same muscle and my metabolism is going to still be moving fast. It doesn't slow down like it does after the cardiovascular. Again, not poo-pooing the cardiovascular by any stretch of the imagination, because it is important for overall health. But for weight management, strength training, and ladies, I'm talking to you, because if you go to the gym, all the men are in the weight room and all the women are in the Zumba class, and everybody should switch it. Just switch it. Or actually should do both.
Mhm.
All right. So once you've built yourself some nice lean muscle and you have good form and you've done, module 5 in the course, you can start to add some cardiovascular bursts. And there's a, I don't know what number it is, but it's in module 5. And it says cardio something, but there's different ideas that you can do between your sets. So say you do a set of push-ups, you're doing push-ups on the kitchen counter, and then between your first and your second set, you can add some jumping jacks, and then do 20 seconds of that, or 20 jumping jacks, or wherever you're at. You might do 4. I don't care where you start, but start. But high intensity interval training, technically the definition is you get your heart rate up and then you let it come back down. You get your heart rate up and you bring it back down. So the 180 minus your age, if you want to do this high intensity, you're going to go above that number, and then you're going to come back to well below that number. That is actually, for weight loss, that is a really good plan, because it tells your body to tap into fat storage. But I don't recommend to start with that. I want you to get good form, because high intensity interval training usually has you doing the movement in a faster way. So like the lady in the picture, she's doing the battle ropes. And I have a timer on my phone. It's called Tabata. And the typical Tabata is 20 seconds work, 10 seconds break. 20 seconds work, 10 seconds break for 8 cycles, which is 4 minutes. If you did battle ropes for one Tabata cycle for 4 minutes, you'll be beat. Trust and believe. I mean, it's hard. So you might not start with that. And the cool thing about the Tabata app is you can change it. You might put 20 seconds work and 20 seconds rest. You might, and a lot of us will need that 20 seconds to recover. And that's the whole point. You recover and then get it back up again. Recover and get it back up again. So you can play with those numbers. But if you want to do a really efficient workout, again, build your foundation with your strength training first. High intensity interval training is is really a key piece of the puzzle. It burns more fat and calories within a 24-hour period versus steady state cardio. So if you keep your jog going at 120 or 180 minus your age, that's called steady state cardio. But if you're getting your heart rate up and then heart rate down, heart rate up, heart rate down, you're going to burn more calories doing that and more fat doing that. It also works your cardiovascular system and your muscles. So that's another good thing. It also increases HGH, which is your human growth hormone, which is your anti-aging, which helps your body maintain lean muscle. This is the HGH, what gives us good energy. Another benefit to doing high intensity interval training, it takes less time. Also, I don't have on my list here, but the afterburn, I talked about the afterburn in cardio, like after you've done that jog or that hike, you know, your body's still moving at a bit faster metabolism for at least 30 to 45 minutes. With high intensity interval training, the afterburn lasts longer. So you're really getting a big bang for your buck there. And there's really no equipment needed. The Tabata app is free. And you could do that with squats. Just do squats for 20 seconds. But I'm telling you, by the third round, you'll be huffing and puffing. But you're doing as many squats as you can do in that 20 seconds. So it could be cardiovascular, like jumping jacks for 20 seconds. And you could alternate. Like your first set is jumping jacks for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds. Okay, now squats for 20 seconds. Now rest for 10 seconds. Now back to jumping jacks, rest, squats, rest, and you can go back and forth. That would be 4 sets of each. You'll be cooked. If you're new, your meals will be cooked. But you'll get something out of it. You're working your muscles and you're working your heart and your lungs. So definitely recommend that.
Tammy, Tabata, T-A-B-A-T-A?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Tammy, I see there's several Tabata apps. Is there one in particular?
I was just going to
It's like-
show you mine.
Okay.
I used it this morning, in fact.
Mhm.
Oh, shoot. Okay, go away. Yeah. This is the other side. This one right here. Can you guys see that? It's black with the orange right there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's the one I have. And it's funny because as a personal trainer, I would use this with my clients. And on there, because it's free, so there's ads, but it was always like Jack in a Box or fast food. And I'm like, of all the things, why wouldn't they be showing me Nike or Lululemon or, you know, fitness stuff? But they're showing me fast food.
Job security.
And I got a side note. As you guys know, I've owned my own businesses, and one of them was a personal training business. And I knew a lady who owned an ice cream store. I was in a networking group, and she owned an ice cream store. So I asked her, would it be okay to put some of my flyers in her store? And she said, yeah. And surprisingly, that's where I got more hits for my business than, say, in the Lululemon store, where people are already probably exercising and not needing someone like me. But the people eating the ice cream needed someone like me. So they're probably not stupid for advertising the fast food. I noticed they advertise other things, like stuff that's not related either way.
Right, that's funny.
But yeah, side note there. And then lastly, we have the flexibility training. And as a group exercise teacher, I would teach either kickboxing or strength training or whatever. And of course, at the end of the class, I would take everybody through stretch. And I'd watch, 10% of the ladies or people get up and walk out. They gotta hurry, they gotta get going, they gotta run. And it's like, you're missing the best part. Hello. It feels good. And especially it's at the end, because that's when you want to do it. You want to do your flexibility training after your body has warmed up, after the blood has been pumped to those muscles, and after they're nice and warm. Think of it like a rubber band. If it's cold outside, Or if we took a rubber band out of the freezer or out of the fridge and we try to pull on it, what happens? It's going to snap. But if it's a warm day outside and we pull it, it's going to be a lot more elastic. So you definitely want to stretch after your workout. That's the best time to do it. It's prevention of injury. You're going to increase your range of motion. Also, stretching releases the stress that we carry stress in a lot of places. But a lot of times we carry it in our joints and in our muscles and in our physical bodies. And by stretching the body, we're releasing some of that stress, which lowers cholesterol. Cortisol, which is your belly fat hormone, that's your stress hormone, which is responsible for belly fat. So you definitely want to do that. But it also works the muscles, which is why I'm a huge fan of yoga. I feel like yoga is it's flexibility and it's strength training. And I have a teacher who talks about cardio, and I wear my smartwatch when I do yoga, and my heart rate does come up, and I'm always shocked. I've been doing yoga for many, many years. I've even taught yoga for a couple of years, but I'm still always surprised how much my heart rate comes up just from breathing and coming up and going down and doing these different movements. How did my heart rate go up? But it does. So flexibility training does work the muscles. A lot of the yoga poses do definitely work both muscle and flexibility. So
Tammy, stretch, I mean, basically before and after?
I would warm up before I stretch if you want to stretch before.
But I guess I don't know what would consist of, what's the difference between warm up and stretch?
So warm up is when you do something, when you kind of build up. So this is going to be kind of funny or weird, but like when I would get in front of the class, we would do a warm up. So you start like this, you do this, nothing really high intense. And then we start bringing it up, bring your knees up, and you start building. Your heart rate starts to really come up. That's called a warm up. So I'm warming my body up. My heart rate's slowly coming up. Now that my heart is pumping and it's getting more blood to all these muscles and joints, then it would be okay to stretch, but not before that. You don't want to start with stretch and then do a warm up. If you're cold, when you get out of bed, you're nice and snugly warm. We do that good morning stretch. That's wonderful. But if your body's cold and hasn't been moving, I would say do a little warm up first and then stretch. But in when I would teach group exercise, I would just stretch at the end for the most part. I would incorporate a little bit in the warm up, but not until I'd been getting that heart rate slowly graduating for at least a minute or two. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Very good. All right, so nutrition. So nutrition is just a huge part of it. I've had times where I can't do all my works out. I can't work out. My schedule gets busy, or I'm traveling, or I hurt myself, or I'm sick, or something else is going on. As long as I stay in my food plan, I don't put any extra weight on, the bad kind of weight. So nutrition, honestly, you guys, I think it's 80%. It's really, it's 80%. What we put in our body is either our food, either it's our medicine or it's our poison. So if we're eating a lot of processed junk foods, fast foods, things with colors, and the more I'm hearing about dyes lately, anything that's bright yellow and bright red and blue, bright blue and green, like all the Gatorade colors, Skittles, Fruit Loops, Tricks, all those colored things, those are all poison. That's a whole talk show in and of itself. But staying in your nutritional limits or boundaries will serve you. So many of like the people, like my shout outs this morning, there was only one for weight loss. Everything else was physical benefits, that the energy was better, the skin was better, feeling better. One lady did fit into some clothes that she hadn't, but nutrition really, really does matter. It's 80%. I wanted to really dig into the exercise part of it because you guys need to know why you're doing what you're doing. But again, your nutrition is really 80% of it. So planning out your meals, knowing where your next meal is coming from or what your next meal is. Even if you know you're going to a restaurant, look it up. Go to their menu online and see what you can have. That way you can take the stress out of, oh my gosh, hope they have something I can eat. You know, change the restaurant if they have nothing, if it's all breaded and deep fried, every single thing, or if it's all pizza. You know, I've had that happen. And the answer to that lady, she was going with a group of people. There was 20 people in the group, and all they had was pizza. And I said, well, call them. And I go, they don't have a salad? She said, I don't think so. I think they only have pizza. So she called in advance. I said, if they don't have a salad, if they don't offer anything gluten and dairy free, ask them if you could bring your own. You're coming with 24 people.
Mhm.
And she did that. And they said, that's no problem. We're fine with that. They had 23 other meals that they sold. So they're not going to be mad, especially if they sell it, you can't bring it in. If they sell salad, you have to buy their salad. That's rude. But you know what I'm saying? If they don't offer it and you can't eat dairy or gluten right now, then call ahead. Anyways,
Tammy, excuse me, can
Yeah.
I offer two things? One is when you went to the additives in the food, having lived in Europe and finding American products that are sold in Europe versus here,
Mhm.
and reading labels, I really found that thinking of food as either functional or non-functional is a really good mental uh, way to hang on to what you're looking for. And most of the world doesn't allow a lot of the additives that we have in our foods. The
Yeah.
other thing is when going to a restaurant, I was taught to look at the menu as basically a list of ingredients. And I've only been in one restaurant that didn't allow me to pick and choose, you know, I'll take this meat that's prepared this way, and I don't even mind the sauce. It doesn't have milk in it, but I can't eat the rice. Can I have it put on your fresh veggies, or put a piece of meat on a salad, or um and I've done that in a number of places, and people really are typically accommodating as long as they have the ingredients in the kitchen.
I love that, and you're 100% right. There's our food. We have food here that's banned in over 30 other countries,
Mhm.
but you follow the money. Follow the money. All these big food companies and Kellogg's and Post and General Mills, all these kids cereals and stuff. But to your point, Sean, like look at it as ingredients list. If you're looking at a packaged food and you see ingredients that you never heard of or don't have in your own kitchen, then it's probably not a good choice. If it's you know, salt or cumin or chicken or you know, like regular, okay, I have that in my kitchen. But if it's foods that you can't pronounce or you never bought that for your kitchen, that's probably good. But you're right, Europe is a completely different story. I've had many through the many years I've been doing this, clients go to Europe, say, I ate the bread and I drank the wine and I ate the pasta and I lost weight. I said, yeah, but you can't do that here. You can't do that here because you will gain the weight. But you're
I
right,
think
Europe.
I was going to say, without getting political on anybody, I promise, but I've heard from many different sources that there have been over 1,000 additives identified in our food that are um, poison, toxic. And again, as Sean pointed out, you know, so many of these other countries have um, forbidden them from being in the food. And you would think that we would be at the forefront of that, given our status in the world. But hopefully soon, it sounds like the prediction is that many of these things will start changing.
I see that coming down the pike too. I'm so excited about that.
So that's really good. But in the meantime, you know, as I mean, I've been doing some of this, but I've learned much more about it since I've been doing the program. You know, the plainer, simpler, more basic foods that you eat, the better. And you know, now I look more at ingredient lists and go, what? That's way too long. No, I
It's
can't eat.
wild, isn't it? Like, this used to be
It's
my favorite
amazing.
thing, and now I won't touch it.
I know, I know. And it is a learning process because you just continually have to be looking at
I'm
the
still learning. Like, I get stuff all the way into my fridge, and then I look at it. I'm like, how did I miss that?
yeah, it's crazy.
Darn it.
Makes grocery shopping faster though, because I do stick more to the perimeter, and I'll venture down an aisle, and I'm like, nah, just go.
Good for you. Good for you. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that input. That's awesome. Having foods already made, I do that. For me, it's every Sunday. I have my lunches prepared. So in between clients, all I got to do is go warm my lunch up, and I'll make primarily proteins and veggies, and it's enough for the next 5 days, Monday through Friday. So just having some chickens or fish or something prepared, or at least defrosted, or at least have it frozen so you can make it quick. There's always got to be frozen proteins and frozen veggies in my freezer, always. That's a real important backup plan.
Yeah.
Obviously, portions matter. You guys, I've been talking to almost all of you about eat more protein. I'd love to see you get at least 4 ounces at your meals of the chicken or the fish or the seafood or poultry. That way you're getting enough protein so you can build that lean muscle, because you're in a calorie deficit. I don't want you to lose any muscle. So portions matter. Your carbohydrates, keep those in a half a cup, and your veggies are on the all you can eat. So tracking, even me, when I did the program, I thought I was eating even healthier than I do, apparently. Or I thought I was eating more vegetables, because I'm like, eat vegetables at every meal. And I realized, oh, I didn't have any at breakfast. Oh, really? I just had a piece of chicken or some tuna with some mayo at lunch.
Yeah.
It was my vegetable. Oops, tracking really is an eye opener. And another studies show that if I'm going to eat that Christmas cookie, or if I'm going to have the pumpkin pie or whatever, I'm going to eat a lot less if I have to write it down, especially if I know I'm turning it in for my coach to read. I mean, you got to be honest, but I don't want to write down that I had 2 pieces of pie. I don't want to write that. I'll just admit that I'll have one, and I'll suck it up, and I'll take my licks and go. But tracking will help you keep your own self on track. And I know it's a pain in the butt. I do know that. And I'm talking about financial fitness. I took a course, and they had us tracking everything we spent. And it was all categorized necessities and stuff that not necessary, stuff that you buy on the way out of the grocery store, the pack of gum or those last minute things. Really tracking that, pain in the butt. At the end of the month, it sucked. I hated that. And so I know how you guys feel about tracking your food. It's the same thing, but it's so hugely important for your sake and for me to be able to help you. So your macronutrients, getting, like I said, protein at every meal, a healthy fat at every meal, keeping your carbs to a half cup at just 2 meals, and then vegetables, all you can eat. So, all right. So where's my... Right here. All right. So these are some other, how much time? Okay, boy, that went fast. Hydration and rest. People don't think much about that, but it is a huge factor in it. Staying hydrated can help with reducing your hunger if you feel like you're hungry a lot. To have a drink of water and then see if you're still hungry, because a lot of times we confuse hunger or thirst for hunger, and we go to eat something. Just take a bottle of water and see how you feel after. It'll also help clean out the liver. The liver is the one organ that will help you metabolize fat more efficiently. It supports digestion, and it supports bowel movements. It will increase your exercise capacity. If you're super hydrated, you'll be able to get out in that gym and move. If you're dehydrated, you're going to probably have a headache, and you won't be able to do much. It also helps the body break down fat. That's why we want you to drink half your body weight in ounces of water up to a gallon. So if your weight is high, don't drink more than a gallon, but start there. It's very good for our skin. We can hydrate our skin. It improves bowel movement. It decreases fatigue. Obviously, if we're tired, we're not going to want to exercise. We're not going to want to go for that walk or that run. Sleep. The sleep can improve your hormone regulation, specifically your ghrelin and your leptin. Those are your hunger hormone and your I'm satisfied hormone. So you have one bad night's sleep and those are both off. I mean, how hungry and how ravenous do I feel? I know for me, I feel ravenous and I want carbs. I want bread. I want sweets when I don't have a really good night's sleep. Rest can improve your metabolism. It increase your energy. It reduces cravings. We make better decisions when we're rested as far as our food decisions. So these two things are very, very, very important. Dr. Infantino recommends you go to bed by 10 so that you're asleep at a certain phase of sleep by midnight. So midnight to 2 a.m. is when we release that human growth hormone. And that's what keeps our lean muscle going. And that's what keeps us youthful and energetic. So that's just real important pieces of the puzzle. So we got physical fitness, which is exercise, nutrition, and some mindset. Obviously, we'll be going into mindset next week. But why should we even care about all this stuff? Well, it's called quality of life. You want to go dancing, or you go on these vacations, you want to go on the kayak or golf or pickleball or play hide and seek with your kids or grandkids, traveling, excursions, zip lining, fun things like that. Playing with your grandkids, festivals, being able to walk through the whole festival, weddings, to go dance and enjoy the parties. All of these things, if we're not physically fit, it's not going to be as much fun. We won't be able to do a lot of them. So I think it's just being able to kayak is a bonus. And plus, if you're on vacation, that could be a form of activity. But this is why we work out, is so we can do these kinds of things.
Mhm.
All right. So does anybody have any questions?
Just a quick comment. Just so I was chuckling to myself about when you talk about, sometimes in life, something happens and you need to carry this bigger thing, be it a suitcase, be it a this, or you're working and someone says, here, take this, carry this. And you're thinking, I can't do that. That weighs too much for me. And then in my case, after I lost 35, almost 40 pounds, I went, I've been carrying the 40 pounds for a whole bunch of years. And I'm like, if somebody told me now that I had to pick up a physical external 40 pounds and carry it around, I'd say, just forget you, go away. I'm not doing that. But we do it with our own weight, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's funny and a good point. And that brings me to, I was talking about somebody's earlier in a one-on-one was talking about knees, that knees are starting to hurt. Well, guess what? The knees weren't designed to carry all the extra weight, which is why those are kind of the first thing to go. If you carry the extra weight for too many years, for too long, you end up with that bone on bone. So yeah, losing the weight even just takes 10%, your knees are going to be happier.
Right. And they say every pound we lose is 4 pounds of pressure off our knees. So if you lose,
Say that again.
they say for every pound of weight you lose, it's 4 pounds of pressure off your knees.
Wow.
So if you lose 10 pounds, that's 40 pounds of pressure that you've taken off your knees.
And that's just 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's huge. It's
That's
huge.
good to know. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah. I've been hearing that for years. So maybe they've updated, but that's what I've heard my whole life.
Right?
Yeah. And also, Tammy, I do have one, hopefully just quick question. When you talk about keeping muscle mass on and not losing it when you're dieting, you talk about things that keep coming up repeatedly. And this week I've been seeing chromium picolinate over and over and over. And that's the thing they say, is that it does help you when you're dieting to keep your muscle mass and maybe even build more. Do you have any familiarity with that?
Chromium?
Yeah.
The only thing I know about chromium is it helps with sugar cravings.
Okay, well, that's good too. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, I used to sell that in my store. Chromium picolinate.
And I don't know if there are different types now, but normally that's the
Well,
one. I
if you were to go to the store and you buy a bottle of, ease cravings something, and I think we even sell one.
Okay,
The main ingredient was probably going to be the chromium.
chromium. Okay, all right.
I don't know if it does anything for building muscle. That's the protein and the strength training. Those two things go hand in
Oh,
hand.
yeah. And this one primarily said it keeps you from losing muscle mass, but then it also said it may help you to increase muscle mass,
Oh,
while you're
well,
dieting. So, yeah.
that's good. We can even maybe Google foods that are high in that if there's any food
Right.
source of it.
Right.
Or just I need to look more into that because all I knew about that it was help with sugar cravings.
Okay. Well, that is huge for me. So good enough reason for me to
Yeah,
get
and you
some.
can just take a pill. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to. I mean, a lot of it's here. We'll talk about that next week. A lot of it's our perspective and the way we look at those sweets. Because we grew up with let's treat ourselves to a sweet. Every time we did a good job or we finished our homework, we would get the treat. It was always
Yeah.
a sweet reward. If you don't eat all your dinner, you don't get the dessert. Or
Right.
do your homework, you get all the things. So we are conditioned to feel like we're being deprived if we don't have dessert.
True.
Or we're being punished if we don't have dessert. That's a mindset. That's just the way we've been conditioned. It
Yeah.
doesn't, we don't have to have a sweet, but
Right.
we have to have a sweet.
But here again, most of our moms used to bake the cookies or the cakes or whatever, so they didn't have all the chemicals in them. And now we just have access to just sweets and stuff everywhere, and it's also full of chemicals. So
100%. That's
Mhm.
true.
mhm.
All right. Anybody else? We had a good group today. A lot of you showed up. I appreciate you all being here. And your participation, Sean, that was very helpful. And
Yes.
Sylvia, everybody. So thank you guys for that. Great participation. And so, yeah, I will see you guys on the next call, whenever that may be for you. But next week will be the mental fitness and the mindset stuff. So hopefully I will see you guys next week for that. Next week's Thanksgiving week. So we will be
Oh, yeah.
dark. We will be dark on that Thursday, right?
Yes.
Already next week, right? Yeah.
So the next Zoom will be I'm on Easter time, so 2:00 noon, your time on Wednesday. Is it always at noon?
Wednesdays
Wednesday?
at noon Mountain Time.
Mountain time, yeah, okay.
Hey guys, before you leave, I wanted to share something.
Yes.
This is Juliet. For hydration purposes, I just started to drink warm water and lemon slices and ginger slices in the morning, and that really gets my hydration going. Big cup, sometimes 2 big cups.
That's a great
And
way to start the day for many reasons.
Yeah.
yeah, I find it easier. I live in Alaska, so I find it easier to drink warmer liquids
Uh-huh.
than cold liquids. So that's one. Also, I wanted to say concerning sweets, don't underestimate the power of candida.
Mm.
Yeah.
True.
That's the reason we have you off of sugar, just not to feed the bad guys. And those are the bad
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Candida also demands sugar, so it's I know that. Also, anybody interested in what dopamine does, there's a really good book that I read some time ago, and dopamine is the reward.
Yep.
Here, yeah, is the
It's
reward.
a reward system in the brain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a really good book if you're interested. It's called Dopamine Nation, and it was a total eye opener for me.
Hmm,
That's
cool.
it.
Thank you for that, Juliet. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Patty, you just joined us, but we're
Yeah,
done.
sorry.
I don't know if you got messed up with the time or you just showed up late. I don't know, but I'm saying goodbye, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You in a,
Oh,
you in a
I
time
got confused
change
by the
state?
time.
Yeah.
But I'm
I'm-
recording. I'm
fine.
recording, so you're good.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it right now.
Well,
I
it
did the
takes
same
it
thing
takes
last
about
night.
20 minutes to convert, and then I've got
Okay.
to post it to the group, which takes another, I don't know how long it takes, another 20 minutes. So probably within the next hour or so.
Okay, sorry about that. Oh,
No,
gosh.
I'm sorry you missed the live version, but I didn't want to not let you in, but it's kind of, we're over.
I did the same thing last week or 2 weeks ago because of the time change and oops. So it happens.
All right, guys, I will see you guys all next time. And until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Tammy.
Thanks.